So, Rina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm thrilled to have you. And I want to first hear about your experience with yoga and your journey with yoga. So, can you tell me a little bit about when you first found yoga and how it impacted your life?
Of course. So I was 19 years old. So this is like 24 years now, 23 years ago. And I actually started, my ex-husband suggested that I try yoga. And I was like, I don't really, it's not my thing. I was like very type A personality, go, go, go. And then, but he planted the seed, and my mom saw that there was an article written about a 106-year-old Swami Bua who was like teaching. And I figured, why not start with a 106-year-old Swami? And like, if I'm going to try it, I'll try it with this guy. So my mom and I both went, and this old guy, just like somebody helped him. Two people helped him sit on a chair. He sat down and he just started drill sergeanting us, like, nah, 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 do this, do this. This was a different time of yoga. This was before
Mm,
yoga pants were yoga pants, right? Like
mm.
everybody wore pajamas and whatever. So I loved it because I couldn't do any of it. And I just got that bug of like, I can't do this. Yes, I can. I need to keep going. So I went back the next day, and I literally ever since then, it's obviously the rest is history, because I was in college and I was studying advertising and marketing. And instead of going into that field, I was like, I'm going to go into yoga. So it helped me with my anger. I had really bad anger issues. I have TMJ because of anger prior to yoga. And I really realized how much it just like injected itself into my lifestyle, into my way of thinking, into my perspective, into just how I viewed the world. That I was like, this is it. This is my prescription for life. Like, that's it. I'm 100%, I'm a lifer. So it was amazing, the transformation that it gave me.
Yeah, that's amazing that your reaction to that class was like, I love this. Because I think so many people would be like, this is terrifying, but
Yeah,
you really responded to that kind of more like strict approach and also being challenged. Sounds like you liked being challenged.
I do. I realize that I'm actually competitive with myself. I'm not competitive with other people. Like if I'm playing a game, I'm like, oh, let's collaborate, right? Even though it's like about winning. But when it comes to myself, 100% I'm competitive. Like I will be like, "Ah, I must prove I can do this for myself."
I love that, channeling that into your yoga. Can you tell me a little bit about your yoga career from that when you decided like, okay, I'm gonna do this for my job? So what happened?
So, well, I mean, a little bit of backstory in terms of I was raised in an environment that, the people that graduated from my high school and college, like they went on to be like, they went to Ivy League schools, and they all went to like become financing and like bankers and all these top like doctors and lawyers. And obviously here I am being like, I'm a yoga teacher. So I realized, though, I was like, okay, I have to do something. I realized in advertising and marketing, even though I love the psychology of it, I could not sell Burger King to people if I don't believe in Burger King. Like I can't just do that for a paycheck. Like money is not that valuable to me that I'm going to corrupt people's lives and manipulate them into thinking something is good when it's not. So I really found that I was like, okay, I can't do this, but yoga seems like it's something interesting, right? So I went into teaching, and I lived in an ashram for a month, and like it was like a 500-hour training course. So you just like dive in fully from like 5 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And I figured if I loved it, I'd become a teacher. And if I didn't, at least it was only 1 month of my life. So I loved it, obviously. And I started teaching, going around different studios. There was only a few at that time. I mean, we're talking like 2002, the beginning of all of this. And then I opened up my own yoga studio. And from opening that one, then I opened up two more. So I ended up having 3 yoga studios in Miami. And then they started doing a bit of like the circuit of teaching at like yoga journal conferences. And, that was like further along the line. But I really, from there, since I started traveling more to teach, I closed my studios and I moved to LA, and I started just branching out in different ways with different, like teaching online and videos and teaching with Wanderlust. And then I went through the route of Kripalu, where we did the first Spanish yoga teacher training that was available in the US, accredited by Yoga Alliance. And so it's kind of taken a lot. And within all that, 2013 was when I started Superyogis. And that was one branch of what I have now. But it was really just like, it's been an amazing journey, up and down and all around. But it's been the fact that yoga is the career has maintained me and forced me to be grounded. Like, okay, if your job is to share these teachings that are of higher value, you can't live a lower value. Like, it really made me have to stay in line as much as possible. I mean, I'm not perfect, and I definitely have failed many times and, picked myself up and made mistakes, but it's been an interesting journey for sure. I can't imagine doing anything else, really.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. That's like, the career of like the fact that you've been kind of a career yogi, that's kind of rare, that people decide from the start of their career to say, I'm going into this. So it's so interesting to hear how you kind of rode all those waves in the studios, and then the traveling, and then the closing the studios and moving. And then, so getting into kids yoga, you said 2013, I think. So what made you decide to take that route and to start sharing yoga with children?
So when I first started yoga, learning about philosophy. So my brain works a little funny, just so that you know, like my brain works, and like I see everything like a cartoon, right? Naturally, you see this colorful background of that's how my brain works, is like I see someone or I see something and I see the interaction and I immediately see like cartoon world, and it's very fun in here. And so philosophically, when I would learn the teachings, my brain would naturally convert it into a fun visual expression of how to teach it to kids. Like, that's just what would happen for me to understand it, right? It's kind of like, that's how I would chew it and digest it. So when I first started yoga and I realized, I had really bad anger issues as a kid. And my mom would tell me that I would like bite the wall and the carpet and like children, right? Like my mom told me that she had to bite me to make me realize to stop biting. So I stopped. But I was grounded all the time. I had a temper. It was my thing. So as soon as I realized what yoga did for me in the early 20s of my, like, my age, I immediately connected with it as like, oh my God, if I only had this as a kid, like if I would have had these tools, because especially my generation, my parents, they were taught to like, we don't have negative emotions. We just brush them under the rug. Oh, right. Instead of learning how to handle it. So it really was really frustrating for me as a kid. I really felt disconnected. I didn't feel understood. I felt that I was just a bad kid because I had these emotions instead of learning how to actually work with them. And so as soon as I started realizing, connecting the dots and going, wait, this is a tool. This is something that could help kids. I just was like, of course, I have to find, especially since the way my brain works, I have to find a way to tangibly share this with kids and make it something more than the fun, like the basics, right? Because for me, teaching philosophy to the kids is the yoga, right? Yes, the songs are great and the dancing's great and the poses are fun, but if I can have a kid have an aha moment like I just had with my 11-year-old client like 10 minutes ago, and she's like it just clicks, that to me is so much more powerful than, of course, the yoga poses are fun, but getting that philosophy across and teaching them these fundamentals of tools that they can learn for the rest of their lives, huge, like just monumentous in how that can shape the rest of their lives.
Yes. Well, first of all, thanks for sharing that about having anger as a child and the biting. Honestly, I think that will help parents who have children who right now are maybe having that issue, because that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Children biting, and I know as a parent, sometimes you jump ahead like, oh, they're gonna struggle in life. You like jump to when they're an adult, and you're like, what's gonna, and to like see to see or hear you who that was able to like figure that out and take that and navigate it. It sounds like you were just probably like, hey guys, we have all these emotions, why aren't we acknowledging them? And you were kind of angry about that. And I very much relate to that. Just we weren't necessarily taught that what was normal, that like anger is normal, and how
Right.
do we channel that?
Yeah. All emotions are normal. It's just what do
Yes,
we do with them? That's it. Like that's the basic of it. But what's interesting is the reason we weren't taught them is because our parents weren't taught that.
exactly.
And their parents weren't taught that. So to expect somebody to teach something that they don't know is unrealistic. But when you're feeling it and you're like, why don't you understand me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
The last thing in our minds is because, oh wait, you don't understand me because you don't understand yourself. Like there's nothing, it's not their fault. Like it is what it is. But that takes
Absolutely.
to get there, right? Not blaming the parents.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, exactly. I think we all do the best with what we know. And,
Correct.
so I think it's what we can do is say, okay, this is what I experienced. And so how do I want to change that and, help the next generation? Because we're learning about it right now. So we can pass it on to children.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so is that how Super Yogis came to be when you were like, "Ooh, I should share this with kids. Like this is good stuff."
So yeah, I it came to be because I started seeing like only a few there back in 2013. There wasn't a lot. There still isn't, considering how much it's needed, but there wasn't a lot of kids yoga around, right? Like I was teaching the kids yoga, like the teacher trainings, like with yoga journal conferences, and I was trying like to travel some to teach the trainings because I realized that great, I can teach this in my studio and help 5, 10 kids, but there aren't any way, there's no way for teachers or teachers parents to do this for themselves and start teaching their own kids. So I realized the teacher training was really important to start spreading more of those fundamentals. And so the super yogis, what's funny is my first super yogi schoolhouse class that was at the studio, I had the most challenging group of kids, the 6 kids. Each one had their own version of a challenge, of physical challenge, or some kind of like on the spectrum. I mean, I had it was a beautiful class because anger issues, which of course I understood, like there was such a spectrum of an array of how to handle each kid, and all the fundamentals are the same regardless of the externalization of how the kid expresses themselves, right? Like what their special need was. So that really helped me realize with this like first group of like, okay, these teachings are legit, like they work no matter what the child is going through. And that gave me just enough of like the impetus to keep moving forward and realize this is really needed, especially
Mm.
with a group like that. And they were so cute. And the best story I have about that group is the one with anger issues. You could just tell like, right, it just comes out because
Hmm.
they don't know what to do with it. That by the end of our we had 8 weeks. By the end of the 8 weeks, the mom, and I did not pay him to say this or do this, the mom was like, so what are you going to do when you're angry at home? And he just sits down, crosses his legs, goes like this and goes, om, om, om. And I was like, if I had had that at his age, oh my God, I would have saved myself so many screamings and tantrums and listening to Metallica and like all the things.
That's incredible to see that. I love when you see the moment where they apply it themselves, and once that seed is planted, that's just with them.
Yeah. And it's their choice now whether they choose to use it, but
Right.
they have it, right? It's like
Yes.
you see the drink of water, you're thirsty. Are you going to grab it or are you going to just, right? Like they
Hmm.
have a choice. That's the key, is that the kids have a choice now. You're giving them alternatives instead of just grounding them and putting them in their room. They don't understand, right? They're just like, I don't know what I'm
Yes.
feeling. And then they're punished for things that they don't even understand. Is very confusing for a child. That if they're able to have the tools to go, wait, oh, wait, I have a choice now. I was given this choice or this choice. What do I do? Do I want to feel like crap for the rest of the day? No, I don't want to feel bad, right? So I'm going to make a different decision.
Hmm. Oh, it's such powerful stuff. I love it so much.
Me too.
Well, tell me about, so it sounds like Super Yogi started as kids yoga classes, but now you have a YouTube channel and you've got videos going. So when did those start up? When did you decide to go online?
So it started at the studios, and then I did the teacher trainings, and then
Mhm.
I did the teacher training online, and then the quarantine hit. And honestly, I've always wanted to do what I'm doing right now, like what I've brought to the world now, like I have an amazing team, but to be able to, like, the quarantine basically gave me the gift of saying, what you gonna do now? Number one. Number two, you have a dream of doing this, and now the kids really need it. Like, this is actually necessary and needed, even though it was before, but it was so hard to convince people that aren't in yoga. Like, this is needed. Like, just trust me, please. I'm not like a wackadoo religious yoga person. Like, no, I am just here to show you these mindful techniques, right? Because there's like a lean in thinking that I'm just going to brainwash the kids. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to help you and the kids, everybody, right? Yoga embraces everyone. But
Mhm.
so now has been the quarantine really just helped me say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the leap. I recorded 18 sessions or 18 episodes in 3 days. I connected with Yoga Journal. I partnered with them to launch the first 5 through their platform, and then put the rest on YouTube, and then be able to, from there, go. I mean, I did it with like the worst quality camera and the worst quality, like I used AirPods, and it was just like, I just threw it out there. I was like, here we go. And then I was like, okay, I really got to do this a little bit better, and I got to just sit down and plan it. So then I hired a team and did the whole thing and the website. And now there's like monthly membership online with the YouTube channel with bilingual. So that was a really important part, is bringing in the Hispanic aspect, because of the fact the multilingual, it's just not, doesn't exist very much. Like, there's nobody, there's not out there a multilingual or bilingual for Spanish and English for kids yoga in the way that I'm presenting it. So there's a lot of layers to this, and of course I have a vision of more things, but I'm very grateful for how it's grown to this point.
Yeah. And that's it was so refreshing to see that it is bilingual so that you're, reaching so many more children. And I also just love the look of it and the colors and it's very it reminds me, I loved when I was little, there was these musicals, We Sing they were called, and there was one called Sillyville, and there was like all these rainbow colors, and I watched it like 1,000 times, and like the look of it, it's just very inviting, and I think it's amazing. I want to hear about your school anxiety breaker videos that I read about, because school just started up for my kids, and like, so my daughter's in kindergarten, so it's our first time going really into like the public school system, and then there was COVID, so all these kids in different capacities have been home for 18 months or have been half home, half virtual, like everyone's
Right.
just
It's a mess. It's a
it's
mess.
a complete mess. So in normal times, back to school is hard, but now it's just a mess. So can you tell me a little bit about those videos and what your mission is for that?
Yeah. So the back to school anxiety breakers. I was actually, I was watching something. No, I wasn't. I was on a Zoom call actually with one of our advisors, who is Dr. Hector Montenegro, and he was talking about, he's a senior district advisor for CASTLE, which is the social emotional learning. And he was saying about how the schools were so anxious, like themselves, the staff was anxious, everybody was anxious, and not knowing how to implement. They're so focused on the COVID regulations that they're not even looking at what's like how the kids are going to feel. Like, it's so hard because there's so many things to juggle, and it's obviously not to blame or to put anything down, but it's just so much, it's monumentous what's going on, right? So so I just literally in that moment I was like, I need to do back to school videos. Like, I need to give parents tools, because they're also freaking out, right? And as simple as, like the first one is repeating the posi, which is a positive affirmation, is repeating the posi, I am brave. Because meeting new kids, like, they've been in their house and in a circle for so long that just like going up to a kid and saying, hi, my name is Rina and I like toys, is not something they've been practicing. Is it's not comfortable and it's awkward and there's a lot of fear and judgment and just so many layers to it, that just being able to have that one phrase, I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, can hopefully get them to step out of it and say something. Especially as kids are so much easier to, they'll just they pick things up and they're sponges. So if you plant it, in them early enough, they'll be able to apply it. So I did 5. Obviously I could do hundreds of these anxiety breakers, but I figured the top 5, whether, being brave, staying focused, because it's hard to be in the classroom setting and the teacher, and being able to relate with that, and feeling, overwhelmed by all the senses, right? They've been just in their home and now they have sights and sounds and the pickup and drop off and lunches, and it's a mess. And so just being able to, like, a breathe, right? Like breathe in and breathe out, count 1, right? Breathe in, breathe out, count 2. Just the smallest thing that they can control is what it is, right? Everything that's in the Superyogis curriculum is about what they can control, which they can control themselves, their emotions, their thoughts, their actions, but they can't control anything else outside, right? So giving them that peace of mind, at least that they can control themselves, is empowering, right? Like, that's why we're Superyogis. So, in addition to like doing a breathy with a posy, so that now they really have to focus, right? Like allowing them to give them the capacity to not let their minds and emotions scatter, but giving them that ability to zone in is important, because there's just so much going on and their emotions are going to be all over the place. And being able to ask for help, like talk to the teacher, ask, I need a quiet space, can you help me? Or talk to the parents. Like, including the parents in all of this is vital, because the parents need it too. Like, we need it too, right? It's not just about the kids, but realizing that if the parent can say, hey, I need an anxiety breaker right now, will you do this with me, is actually more empowering than to make the kid feel like he needs the anxiety breaker only, and that I'm the parent, I've got everything under control. Like, let's be really honest parents right now. We do not have things under control, right? We are like, it's a mess and it's okay. It's like, it's a beautiful mess, right? It allows us to be able to accept that this is beyond what any of us thought we could manage. Like, who would have thought that we would have had to deal with a pandemic? Nobody, right? So the fact that it's making it okay that we're not okay, but that we're doing our best and that we're learning how to manage ourselves and taking accountability, is the example to set for kids, is how kids can be like, oh, it's okay that mom's not okay, but she's handling it. She's breathing. She's doing her posy. She's taking the time out for herself. I can do that too, right? That's the beauty of it, where it's no longer about being the perfect housewife, right? Like my parents' generation was, but about being real and about being like, okay, this is tough. So the anxiety breakers are meant to be for the kids, the parents, and the teachers. The teacher actually told me, she's like, I did your first anxiety breaker. And I went up to a teacher that I just met, that I knew was a new teacher. And I was like, hi, I am brave. I'm it's nice to meet you. My favorite food is this. And she just used it. And she's like, it felt so good. It's like, bravo.
Yeah. It starts from the top down too, like you're saying, like if we are incredibly anxious, and as we should be, and we're all like, we don't know what's going on, and we feel like we've been off balance for 18 months, and to offer to our children the honesty of that, but also letting them know they're safe, because they've got control over, like you said, what they're thinking and what they're breathing, and just these small ways that we can check in with ourselves. It is vital. It is. And I hope if something comes out of this positive, it's that there is more focus within schools in the social emotional part of children, because I think that should be just part of curriculum.
Oh,
it has to be.
Yeah, that I'm actually working with some schools right now to try to implement it as part of, like, this is the morning session. Every morning we do this, and applying it with the themes and posies, like, again, not just necessarily the poses, because poses are great and fun for movement, but we want to pair them up with a higher value or something that helps them actually tangibly use it during the day, that maybe a kid gets, rowdy or takes a toy and gets upset, and it's like, wait, let me take a deep breath. Like, how can I respond to this in a way that's better than just freaking out and screaming, getting angry? Like, giving them that 100% it's necessary in schools, because the ideal is like, okay, we have it in schools, like every day in the morning before, like, this is how you're starting the day. Like, imagine if all of us as adults, every morning we actually like had some philosophy and had some, practice for ourselves. Our day is going to be different because we're already starting it at a higher bar. But if we're starting anxious and flustered, did you have the lunch? Oh, right. If we're running around, that's the start of our day. The rest of the day is just going to be as flustered. There's not going to be a moment of grounding. It's going to take a lot of effort to do that. So you have the school, and then ideally the parents, like they're also working on it. And then of course the kids, and that's why, me having like the YouTube videos for the parents to do, they could do it with the kids at home, the monthly membership online where there's some articles and some reading for the parents to continue to learn and apply the teachings for themselves, plus activities for kids to do. And, it's meant to be all connected. And so that's the ideal. Hopefully one day we'll see it all blend.
Yes, I am on board. I'm completely on board. And I know everyone listening is on board. And it's like, this is why we're doing this work. And I feel like we're at the precipice and there's something new happening. So in diving in during quarantine and making the videos and starting this part of your business, what has been the greatest challenge so far for you?
The greatest challenge for me, let's see, for me, it's honestly, I know it's going to sound so cheesy. It's been such a pleasure, like, to do this work and to focus on it being the work and not on the result. So the part that's challenging is like, it's not like I'm making any money, right? Like, let's be real, like financially, it's definitely an investment. I have invested in this. I have spent my own money, like in a time that money is scarce, and it's, jobs are not secure and unemployment rates are off, through the roof. And that would be the challenge of like just the logistics of it, is realizing, yes, I need more funding. Like, that's at the end of the day, there's only a certain amount. And to make this really like the vision that I have in my head and what I need, I have a strong team already, but I know I need a bigger, stronger team, like that can come together with the team that I am envisioning in my head. It's like the fact that within a year we've been able to have over 150 videos, have a functioning website with, monthly membership in the back end with all these different aspects of it, plus have like, marketing team to help keep pushing it forward. And, we did a coloring book, a bilingual coloring book. And, there's so many things, and working with schools, like there's so many things, teacher trainings. Like I just started another teacher training last Sunday, and all these things with the limited amount of funding and personnel that I have and team is great that it's happening. But just imagine, right, if I could just have a little bit more support financially, and obviously with a team like that, the consistent team. That's been the biggest challenge, is obviously knowing that at the end of the day, I have a small team right now, very small, and it's a lot of work for us, but it's keeping that going. But I have the endurance and the drive. It's just sometimes it's like, God, there's so much to do.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I totally can relate to that and understand having that vision and not the financial part, but seeing the future, like you see what's there. So I know it could be hard in the day to day to stick to it, but I'm so glad, and I can feel your vision and see your vision. So I want you to keep going.
Thank you. You too. I mean, we're doing this. I can definitely relate to what you're saying too, is like, we're doing this because we really believe in it, and we know that kids need it. And it's not like we're getting a salary that we're just like, ching, ching, right? Like it's a risk, but the reward of giving this is so much better for me than like making sure I get a paycheck salary for a job that isn't going to be fulfilling. Like this is much more fulfilling for me. And I feel like it's going to make more of an impact in what's needed right now than anything else. So We all have
Yes.
our natures and our callings, right? So like
Yes.
following that is important.
Exactly. Exactly. And that, yes, thank you. I need to hear this.
Yay.
Now let's hear the biggest reward of taking this dive into 150 videos and all that you've done in such a short period of time.
Okay, reward. For me, it's been so seeing it come to life is beautiful, right? Something that you have in your head and that you're like a dream coming true per se is a beautiful thing. But most importantly, seeing that it's having a positive impact in like the most random ways. Like I got an email from, it's 2 months ago now that I got an email from this woman, a mother saying from London, who she's like, do you, we watch your videos and we would love to, my daughter wants to take classes here in London, but like what you're teaching, like Vedanta, right? Like the philosophy. And she's like, do you know anywhere in London? I'm like, I don't know anywhere in the world that's teaching Vedanta to
Mhm.
kids, right? Like realistically, besides this in this way. And so I was like, but I'm open to doing Zoom calls with her if you want, right? So we've been doing weekly Zoom calls and with this adorable 8-year-old girl, Aria. She's just a sweetheart. And she's just like so eager to learn about the mind and the intellect and like all the things
Mhm.
that have to do with her developing herself and growing. And that's, I mean, it's one child, but like that is so powerful to me that she's hungry for that. That's created me to actually create more. Like, how do I really, like, I know I'll have to meet her every week. So it's forcing me to really extract the essence of the teachings in a way that's beautiful. And I mean, all I can say is I can really feel that it's in the right direction. I'm trying to use my intellect as much as possible to stay on track and stay focused. But it is the one thing that I have been willing to invest as much as I have time, money, resources, all of it to make it happen. And it just feels nice to see that like you said, you can see my vision. And I'm so glad because I'm certain that others have similar visions. And if we all work together to partner and grow in this, it's really not about me. Like it's really not about me. This is about like the kids and what they can learn and the teachings. Like just present the teachings. Here they are. You do with them as you will, but at least they have them. Because when I was a kid, I just remember being like, this is life. Like, this is what it's about. Like, this is pretty lame. Like, what? Until I read the Tao of Pooh and I was like, oh, there's another way to look at life. And then I read the autobiography of a yogi. Oh, this is another way to look at life. And like little by little, seeing that there was other ways of living that wasn't what I was living and or what I was told was life. And so I can choose my life. And I like just here you go. Now you do with it as you will. That to me, just being able to put that together and present it in a way has been a huge blessing. And I feel grateful that somehow it's coming through. Right? Like,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
get to see pretty colorful rainbows all the
Oh,
time.
I love the rainbows. I love rainbows so much. I just got my daughter a rainbow decal for her room. I'm just very into. I love what you said about it's our job to present the teachings, and I think everyone listening, you all have a unique voice, and you all have, I'm sure within you, you have a stirring and an understanding of how you envision spreading these teachings. And for you, you have your super yogis and your vision that I see so clearly. I decided we need more community within the people actually teaching the kids yoga to support each other and to lift each other up. That's why I started this podcast. And there might be people who have a small kids yoga company in a small town or who've been wanting to make videos. Guys, there can be, we need more yoga videos online. Cosmic Kids is awesome. So,
Yes.
but that's one, there needs to be everywhere. It needs to be saturated. It's a market that's completely untapped.
Totally.
But there's so many ways. People who want to write a book, there's just so many ways. And I just encourage everyone listening, like, to spread these teachings in the way that you feel you want to. There's enough room for everybody. There really is.
There really is. And that's the thing for me is realizing for me, the super yogis, like, yeah, when you see something like Cosmic Kids, you're like, okay, she already has monopolized
Right.
market.
You almost want to
Like,
say, never
there's, I
mind.
mean, Right, exactly. And I was like, you know what? No, like she teaches it differently. She's a great storyteller and I can't compete with a British accent. I mean, I want to listen to her, right? Like she's amazing. And I can't pretend I have a British accent, even though I would love to speak that way all day. But you know, it's not authentic. So she has a beautiful gift and I mean, I'm so happy for her. Are you kidding? She's planted a huge, amazing tree and a seed for us to
Mhm.
continue and keep growing. And I have a different approach. You know, I don't do the stories like she does. Like, and it's all welcome and it's all needed. And each one of us has our spark that we have to be able to share. And that was part of, if I'm going to inspire anybody to do this for themselves, is like, you really have to just realize that you have your path, your way, and it's beautiful the way that it is. And if it's calling to you, you better answer. Like, at least do it. Like, I can die now in my deathbed. I can be like, at least I gave it a shot, right? At least I put my right foot forward. I've created this insane rainbow room that my husband is literally like, can you stop wearing rainbows, please? Like you are a 42-year-old woman. Like, and I'm like, that is okay. So, you know, and he loves rock and roll and spikes and motorcycles. So this is like a far, far stretch for him, you know, but it is what it is. At least this is me. And so you have to find that within yourself and find that confidence to at least take one step and put a really grainy, horrible video with horrible audio. And like, don't you think I'm kind of embarrassed that those 5 videos for Yoga Journal are like, that they have on Yoga Journal are like my crappy quality videos? Like, that's not the best thing, but it is what it is. It's out there, right? And at least you did it, you know, whatever it is, just at least you can say that you tried. And that's what matters. So hopefully that inspires you to take an action. I'm happy to be your motivator. We will be,
Yeah.
Jessica and I will be your little cheerleaders.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be contacting you. Just give me a
I
little
will
cheer.
text me. I'll be like, you got this, girl. I got your back. Whatever you need.
Same. We'll go, it goes in waves. You gotta
Yes.
have that support.
Yes.
But totally, yeah, you have to take those first baby steps, those crappy babies that, I mean, when I listen back to my early episodes, I'm like, well, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had to start there. I mean, you can't just go to the end. So
Correct.
take those little tiny steps each day. Even if you just do one small thing each day,
Yeah.
then think about in 6 months how far you're going to come,
Correct.
just stick to it.
Stick to it one step at a time and follow. That's the whole thing, is if you follow the practice, right? If you follow the teachings, you're going to enjoy the process, because it's really about the process. This is when you're saying the most rewarding thing is, I have enjoyed this process so
Mhm.
much. Like the process of figuring out what to get, what to wear, what to say, like, you know, the scripts. And like, now I have, like, I can record, you know, like in 2 days, I can record 10 episodes. Like, I'm just like, you know, I have it down to a T, but it's been fun. I have the puppet, Mr. Philosophy, and like, I'm having fun and at the
Yeah.
same time applying the teaching. So it's a win-win, where it's really not about like the result. Like, my numbers aren't so high right now. I'm definitely not a Cosmic Kids, you know, or anywhere near that, but I'm having a good time in the process. And I'm hoping that it resonates with kids at some point and the parents, and they see the value in it. And I have some things up my sleeve that I'm hoping to like launch soon that like are all part of the plan of like, all right, we'll see what happens. You know, like, I just got to do what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And having that whole library of videos that's just there now, and to know that that's available then for kids now, kids in a year, kids in 5 years, you don't know
Right.
how that's going to reach. So that's the other value in having this kind of recorded content where it now is there. Right for people to find. And so it's like, yeah, same with like episodes. I look at numbers. I'm like, these aren't spectacular numbers and downloads, but I'm like, but something's telling me to keep going, and I don't know, it just kind of, it reminds me of the book, The Alchemist. It's my favorite book. And it's just like, it's just like,
Yep.
gotta follow that personal calling.
Exactly. And I mean, at least we connected, right? Like, it's one
Yeah.
person, right? Like, you never know how it's gonna connect. And for me, especially the bilingual stuff, is like, I do
Mm.
want to reach families that don't have access. Like, what, you know, like a Hispanic community, perhaps they don't even have yoga in Spanish for adults that much, right? Like, it's hardly available. So even less for kids. And so having that available online, if a kid finds it or a parent finds it, that they are able, it's in their language, is ideal, right? For accessibility and inclusivity, where they feel like kids can do yoga, right? Because I know from my experience with teaching Spanish teacher training, a big challenge for us was the fact that, in terms of getting it out there, is that since there isn't yoga in Spanish for adults, they don't think that yoga, let's be honest, yoga is stereotypically marketed for white females, right? Like middle-aged white females, and that's what it is. So we had to like, no, but it's good for everybody, and it's not a religion, and it's a way of life that you can enjoy any religion, like, because it's a lot of different ways of communicating it. So if we can get it, colors help to have the kids enjoy it, and teaching it in their language obviously is huge. So
that is huge. And that's a huge part that I just want to mention again, that there's this bilingual part to it. It's just so needed. It's like, we're like thirsty for more of that. So you're doing it. We're doing it.
Yay.
Well, okay. I'm excited to hear your kids' yoga gem. That's how I always kind of wrap up these conversations. So your one big piece of advice to anyone that is sharing yoga, whether they're teaching children or they're sharing yoga at home, what would that be?
So I have 3 words that I always teach for my teacher training, and like for anybody who wants to be with kids or relate to kids. It is put it on. So put it on means if a kid's having a tantrum, or they're having some kind of a situation or a feeling or anything, if you put on what they're experiencing and you feel it for yourself, you bring yourself down eye to eye. For me, it's very easy because I'm only 4'11" and a half, but being able to put on what they're experiencing instead of coming in as the adult with all your stuff of your life will allow you to understand them better, listen, connect, and then know how to relate to them. Because if you put on that they're sad and you say, what's the first thing an adult says when a kid starts crying?
They say, don't cry. Yeah.
Right. They say, don't cry. Stop crying. Well, okay. When you're crying, does that help? No, right? So if you're putting on sadness and you feel the kids crying, right? Then instead of being like, don't cry because you're uncomfortable with them crying, because that's usually what ends up happening, it becomes, oh, they're sad. Well, how would I want to be treated if I was sad? So it's put it on is such a quick, easy 3 words that you can like carry with you. The moment a kid's acting out, and you're like, okay, I'm getting angry. Okay, so why are you angry? What's going on? How can I help? Right? Like putting it on immediately makes you an equal. And being an equal is huge because kids feel less than physically because they're smaller, but also emotionally because parents just say, or adults just say, because I said so, or doesn't matter why. Oh, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Stop asking questions, right? Like it's a lot for the parent, but the moment you can be an equal, you can say, I don't know why. Let's talk about that. Like, let's finish cleaning up your room and we can talk about it during dinner. Or you address it as an equal and putting it on. Just try it. I mean, you can try it even with your spouses. It works for any kind of relationship you have, but especially with kids, is remembering what it was like to be 5 years old, remembering that their whole world was that one toy. And even though the toy is like so small for us, for them, it's everything. So it's like, okay, let me remember, let me put it on, let me experience this. Okay, now I can address this differently than as I would Rina, the adult who has 50,000 bills to pay, and I just goes in traffic for 30 minutes and I don't want to have to deal with dinner and oh my God, the laundry. It's like, right? You want someone else to put it on for you, right? Like you want someone to be like, I understand. Yes. It's so hard, right? So it's putting yourself in their shoes, but the put it on, the 3 words, carry those with you and hopefully that helps.
I am going to use that as a mother. I love that because that's definitely something I try to remember, but having that little, it's like you said, a mantra,
right?
Because there's so many times where from the outside and in my adult stress and dealing with everything, I see something and it's like, oh, come on. Like, what is this, and it's so to simply be able to say that to yourself. And the other thing I liked what you said is that sometimes we don't have the capacity in the moment to deal with things, but we
Right.
could always say, I see this is happening now. Can we talk about that later? Or, taking that break, just, we're all human and we, sometimes we just we can't right then. Or if we make the mistake later on, you can put it on later, usually once you're calm, right? And you could say,
Right.
oh, I see that now. And then talking to them about it and saying, you know what, I was thinking about it and now I understand how you were feeling before. Is this why? And having those discussions, huge.
Huge. And that's the thing is when a parent can apologize, that is huge. If you're able to say, I am so sorry for how I did not listen. Like I need to listen more and I'm working on it. Oh, it is amazing how the kid immediately respects you, immediately connects with you. And I mean, I have two bonus daughters, right? And so for me, like the youngest and I connect so much because I am so honest and so real with her that she appreciates that I treat her like an adult. Like from the beginning, I was already like, I'm going to tell you the truth. Hopefully you like it, right? And they do. They really do because they can feel when they're being lied to. Like they know, they're so smart. So the moment that you're like, you know what? I'm so sorry that like you just honor it, they step up with you. And because they end up acting like adults because you're treating them like that, but without forgetting that they're still kids and they get to be silly and have fun.
Exactly. Yeah. It's treating them as equals
Right.
and honoring that they're also a child and it's our job to guide them. It's very complicated. But
No,
you
it's all so many roles,
exactly.
so many hats. And of course we're gonna mess up and we're gonna make mistakes.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful mess.
It's a beautiful mess. This has been a theme. I had another interview earlier today. We also talked about the beautiful mess. So this is the theme of the day, and that's life. And this is yoga. This is all yoga. Everything we're talking about here is practicing yoga in your actions and how you're viewing things, and being in the present moment. I love talking to you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time. I want people to find you and find the video. So can you just point us in the direction of the website, social media, all that?
Yes. So it's www.superyogis.com. And then if you on social media, it's at Superyogis. So one word. And then also on YouTube, you can look it up as Superyogis. So it's all Superyogis, Superyogis, Superyogis. And if you want to email me, you can email me at friends@superyogis.com because we're already friends.
I love it so
And if you
much.
need me to be your cheerleader, I am totally down for it. You can totally Instagram message, whatever it is, and I'll be there.
Awesome. I'm going to be messaging you for sure.
I will respond, Jessica. I'm here for you, girl.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So yes, just such a pleasure. And I think people are going to feel very inspired by this. So have a wonderful evening and thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Namaste.
Namaste.
Nice.